thank you all for showing up here this afternoon, bearing with a little technical glitch or two. Just want to welcome you to this introductory session to our facilitated training module on literacy for children who are deafblind. And with the module and today is all about Nancy Steele, and she's going to be talking to you about what's expected and where we're going with this. So Nancy, it's all yours.
Well, welcome everybody. It's great to be with you all. I am going to be hosting you over the next 6 weeks through Moodle, the Moodle system. So what today's thing is just to get you started, just to let you know what's expected, what's going to happen, that kind of thing. So it shouldn't be, I mean, we will be short and sweet. It's not going to be horrible. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Maybe. There we go. What?
I thought I'd not put you back on as co-host. You're good.
Obviously you did, because here I am. Okay, so, and if I can never do this and get, I hate that little thing up there. It needs to move. I can't move it. But watch this. I can do this. Huh, so there, tricked it. Okay, so today I want to talk about literacy just for 5 seconds, and then the rest of this time is going to be spent on how to get into Moodle, how to, all that good stuff, all right? The technological part of this. But just the background, a little bit of my background is I was a teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing 1 year in Indiana, my first year. And then after that, I was in Kentucky for 17 years. And so I taught deaf kids and then went into deaf blindness. After 17 years, I decided for a change and I went to work with the National Center on Deaf Blindness. And I stayed there for almost 15 years. And during that time, I worked on literacy. I was the lead on literacy. And then I worked on some other stuff too. The AHOA modules, I don't know if any of you know about those. They're open hands, open access, and there's a bunch of those. But today we're going to focus on literacy. In my role as the lead in literacy, we developed some outcomes and performance indicators around deaf blindness, and we looked at all the research and all that other good stuff. And then after that, we decided that our boss had charged us with making these outcomes and performance indicators. Well, the work group that got together, we said, that's great, but not, this was mostly for the deafblind projects. And there are 50 deafblind projects all over the country. Every state has a deafblind project and the territories have projects. So with that, most of the stuff that we were doing was designed to help them to help teachers and parents and such. So when we were doing that, we decided, well, not everybody has a good handle on literacy instruction. Most everybody, really doesn't understand literacy in the way it's supposed to be taught and such. So we put in a lot of strategies and little things in there. And our boss said, well, that's all fine and good, but really we need you to take those out now. So we took those out, we did the performance indicators, we sent those on, but we had all these strategies and it was like, this is crazy. This is what teachers really want and need. So from that, we developed a website, and I'm going to take you there in a little bit. But we developed this website and it was really made, we started it with my little small work group. And then from there, we asked teachers to help us to do it because you guys are in the field, you know how to do things. If you can, if I ask you specific things, you can rattle it off your head. I hadn't been in the classroom by that time in 10 years. So that was a little rusty for me. So we asked a lot of teachers to help us. And so really the website that we developed was made with you guys in mind, because it was really made with oh my gosh, I just found out that I'm going to have a deaf blind child who's they're bringing in tomorrow, and I'm supposed to be teaching them literacy, and what do I do? And it really is kind of one of those things where you go in and you fill out a checklist very quickly, and it tells you where on the site to go. And so that website was up and running for quite a while. And then another work group got together and decided, wait a minute, we really need to make a module around this and kind of help people with some of that stuff. So that's how this module that you all are going to be going through was born. And so it's only been out just a little while. It's only been out maybe a year, if that. And it's on NCDB's website, but it's not in module format. So I rebuilt it in module format in Moodle, and that's how you're getting it this way. So it's based on, when we think about literacy, it's so interwoven with communication. It happens at the same time. Literacy and communication both happen at the same time. And speaking and listening and reading and writing, all of that happen at the same time. And you go through stages, just like you go through stages of developing communication, you develop stages of literacy development. And so we talk about that on that website, and you'll get a little flavor of that in this module. But it goes, there are many, many more stages than what we have here. But for our purposes, we used early emergent. We used building a foundation first, and that's where a lot of our learners are. And then we had early emergent, then we had expanding literacy. And then we also, on that website, married the National Reading Panel's components of literacy, which are phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary fluency, and comprehension. Well, we didn't take on phonics and phonemic awareness because we felt like it didn't apply to this population. And we thought about possibly doing it at a later date. And I don't know, because I no longer work for NCDB. I don't know if they're going to plan to do that or whatever. But at the time, we did put in vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And one of the things I want to say about that is when you are working with your learners and you're thinking about vocabulary, you always need to also think about comprehension and fluency. And when you think about those things, it's comprehension. Do they really understand what that word means? Those vocabulary words that we're pouring in, do they understand what they mean? There's the comprehension piece. And then there's the fluency. Can they do it where it becomes rote? Because that's what happens to us. Do I need to admit her? I guess I do. Okay, sorry. So those things we need to think about as we are working with our learners. But to start it off, it starts with building a foundation. And a lot of our learners are there. So we start with those trusting relationships. And as teachers, we don't think about that piece long. We don't think about that piece probably at all, because we think, well, of course they trust us. We're teachers and we're in a school building, and everybody's peace, love, and Bobby Sherman around here. Why wouldn't they trust us? But what we don't think about with these learners is where they've come from. And a lot of our kids have started off in NICUs, or they've had lots of illness, lots of those kind of things. And because of some of them being so involved, their experiences, which is how we develop those trusting relationships and concept development, they're kind of lacking because they haven't had experiences like we would with a typical learner. So we need to stop and think about, as you're going through this module, I want you to think about that those trusting relationships. Communication is very much a part of literacy development. Exposure to books and writing materials, because see, that's the other piece. A lot of these learners are so involved that parents don't naturally pick up books and do all those things that we usually do with typically developing kids. So they come kind of behind the 8 ball already because they haven't had that exposure to books and writing materials that many of our learners have had before they even came to school. Then concept development is all built on experience. That's how we figure things out, is through our experiences. And as we have similar experiences, all of that piles in our brain. We start shifting it out and filing it like a computer in our brain of different concepts. And that's how we expand it. And so, and we as teachers, as special ed teachers, we don't often think about concept development when we're doing things. We usually are in there, we've got 30 minutes and we're going to go in and work on something specific, and then we get out. We're skill driven is what we are. We're very skilled. We want them to get a skill. We don't think so much about concepts. And an example of that would be, we teach our kids how to, as older kids and in transition, we might teach them how to do laundry, right? So we might teach them all the dynamics of how to load the washer, what to do, how to dry, how to fold, how to put away. We never think about the concept of how do they know what's dirty and clean. So see, there's all that kind of stuff that we need to stop and think about, those concepts and how we can build them and how we can help them. Then there's just the child's interest, because a lot of times that's where we have to start with these kids. We have to start with their interest, or we're going to lose them. And then from their interest, which sometimes they're pretty wacky, weird interests that they have, but we have to go there and start with that in order to pull them to where we want them to go. Okay, so when we're starting this, when we're going into the module and starting the module, we're going to go to what's called Metro ECSU Moodle. And we're going to send you out tomorrow a email with all the specifics about how to get in there and all that good stuff. But today we're just going to talk through just a little bit of that stuff. So your username, I am also in another role. I manage this Moodle for Minnesota. We're actually borrowing our friends from Minnesota Deafblind Project. We're borrowing their Moodle in order to do this. So in order to go in, Moodle is a learning management system, and I manage the back end of it. So when Lisa enrolled all of you, you all signed up, then Lisa sent it to me, and I have already enrolled you. So when you go tomorrow and start in this, then whenever you start, you will go to Metro ECSUMoodle.org, and there's a login. And down here it says, is this your first time here? Don't do this. Please do not do this, because I've already registered you. You don't have to register. You don't have to get a login, all that. I'm going to give you that today. All right. So when you get there, you're going to see something like this. This is what that first page is going to look like. And when it does, you're going to put the first part of your email. So my email account is nancy.k.steele@gmail.com. So if I wasn't the AHOA admin that I am, then my name up here as my login, as my username is nancy.k.steele. In this particular situation, I'm a HOA admin just because I do that. But you would put just the first part of your email up there, and it has to be all lowercase, okay? So when you're doing this, make sure, so if it's lisa.poff, then it's lisa.poff, all lowercase letters, not the at, don't put the at and the rest of it, okay? So then your password is hashtag let me in 21, and the L in let is capital, everything else is lowercase. So when you log in for that first time, then you click login. When you log in that first time, it's going to ask you to change your password. And when you change your password, you have to have at least one capital and lowercase, one number, and one special character, like a hashtag or an exclamation point or something like that. Okay. So once you get that part in, then you're going to come to what's called your dashboard, and you're going to see these two: welcome and orientation and literacy. Okay. These are the two modules that you'll be going through. You're actually not going to be going through the welcome and orientation. I've kind of stripped that down. That's your cheat sheet in case you get like, I don't know what to do in Moodle. I've never done anything like this. So that kind of helps you to know what to do and how to maneuver things. It's pretty intuitive, so you shouldn't have that much trouble with it, okay? So then once you get into the actual literacy website or module, it looks like this in the beginning. So it starts with this sweet little thing, and it says literacy for children who are deafblind, building a foundation. So we're going to spend a lot of time. This module is really for learners that are at that building a foundation thing. There's so much more to literacy, but if we can get them started on that path, and I applaud you for being here and going through this module to learn a little bit more about that. Okay, so all of that module really has to do with this website. And this website is the literacy website I was talking about that we had done several years ago. So it's still up and running, and this is where you're going to go and find a lot of information and stuff. So this website is there. Its web address is literacy.nationaldb.org. And all of this information we'll have for you. It's going to be in the module. It's so, and I will be there as your host, and so it's really not going to be that hard. So start date is today, and our end date will be April 30th. You're going to work at your own pace. Nobody's going to be over you going, well, you know, you need to get this done. And it really probably will take you maybe 5 hours all told. So you can pace yourself. You can do it all in one time. You can wait until the last, well, I would prefer that you not wait till the last day, but you take your time and you do it whenever it's good for you. And we've given you 6 weeks, so you should have ample time to get that done. When you do it, there are going to be some small assignments in there, and it's really devoted around a particular child. You want to go in with the child in mind. And when you do that and you work through it, once you work through it with one child, then you'll be able to use it with multiple partners, you know, with multiple kids that you work with. And any problems along the way, I will provide that feedback to you in there. You will, you know, upload assignments, and then I will give you that feedback and such. If you have any problems along the way, here's my email address. I'm pretty good about coming back and answering you lots of times within the hour, unless it's like the middle of the night and you might have to wait then until about the crack of the, no, just kidding. anyway, so that's, I mean, that's as simple as it can be. Now, I do want to spend just a minute or two. Any questions on that? In the chat pod or whatever? I'm going to guess that there's not. I don't see any, do I? Lisa, oh, I do have 2 in the chat. Oh, okay. So Lisa's putting all this stuff in there. All right. Lisa has put that information in the chat pod for you. And then we will. What?
I said all of the login info is there.
Right. All of the login information. Now, here is one thing I do want to tell you about this. Okay. And I'm going to go into the literacy website to just give you a little heads up so that you don't get like freaked out. This is a progress bar, and it's going to tell you what, you know, when it's green, it means it's something you've been through. If it's blue, it's stuff that you haven't done yet. And that's just helps you to know whether you've done things or not, right? But when you get in here and you're looking through, there's a module journal that you're going to be using throughout this. And writing like your reflections and stuff. And it doesn't have to be long and drawn out. I mean, we're not doing like any master's thesis or anything here. So don't feel like, you know, it's a complete and not complete. So it's not even like you're getting graded. So, and then as you're going through, when you download the journal, make sure you save that to your desktop. That's a really important part, because if you don't save your work, then you can write it all out, you upload it into there, and I get it and it's blank. Okay, so it's really important that you download it, save it to your desktop, work on it, and then you can just drag and drop it into the space where it lets you put in your stuff. The other thing I want to tell you about is as you're into some of these things, because there's lots of, there are slide presentations and all different kinds of things. But as you're working through these, let's say that we go into this, maybe. Okay, as you go in and you've gone through this particular, you know, you've read all the stuff on the slide presentation, then you're at the end of it. You want to go up here to what they call the breadcrumb. And you click on Lit Indiana 321, and it will take you back to the main page where all the information is. Okay, so if you get lost, you always go back to the breadcrumb. Or if you get stuck in there, and right here is the link to the literacy website. But if you get stuck when you're in that module, make sure that you can always go back to the breadcrumb, and it will take you back home or back to the literacy module. You don't want to hit home because that will take you completely out of the module. But if you do that, you can get right back in by pressing literacy, because it will be on that front page for you. Okay, so any questions, concerns about any of this stuff? And like I said, it goes in, there are learning activities in here. There are 4 of them. And then at the end, you will do like submit your literacy journal, and you'll take just a small survey. And then there are additional resources and references and such down here. Okay. So it's not going to be hard. It's not, I promise no one will die from going through this. I think after this year of COVID, everybody's gotten really technologically savvy, a lot more so than we used to be, I would imagine. Okay, so now just to give you just a brief overview of this website. On this side of it is all the different tabs for all the different sections. And there are so many resources on this website, you won't even believe it. So if you are, you usually start, hold on, let me go back here for a minute. And the module will take you through how to do all of this stuff, but here's the literacy checklist. And the module will tell you when you're supposed to do that and all of those things. So all of that's found on here as well. But if you were to not be doing this and just using this, you would do this literacy checklist, and that would kind of point you in the direction of where you need to be on this website, especially for that, oh gosh, I just found out I've got a deafblind student and I need to know, and I've got 15 minutes. That's what that piece is this can help you to know exactly where your kid is and where you need to start. Remember, when we're thinking about this, they might be in a stage of literacy development. They may be in early emergent or building a foundation or emergent. We always, when you're thinking about literacy on any of those stages, you also need to always be thinking about writing. And there's a whole section on writing. And then there's a whole section on vocabulary development. There's a whole section on comprehension and a whole section on fluency. And then expanding literacy is once they've gotten up to that stage where they are able to, where they are becoming more literate, then that's the stage where we start really connecting to those standards and such. So that's the expanding literacy section. Then there's a whole planning section for teams, teachers, whomever, that have all kinds of templates and everything. So really, when you get in here and start exploring, there's something for everybody in here. The other thing I will say is Deafblind Dollars paid for this website, but I know it works for other populations other than deafblindness. So if there are other kids that you serve, there are things on this website that will help you with other special needs children. So don't let it, just because it says deaf blindness doesn't mean that it's straight up deafblind. Good teaching is good teaching is good teaching. And a lot of things you can apply to a lot of kids, okay? So the other thing is I want to give you just a real quick, like down and dirty nickel tour of the website. So if I'm on this website, the very first, any of these stages, they're all built the same way. Every one of these along here are built the same exact way. They're laid out in the same format. So the first part of this first paragraph talks about that stage of literacy development or that component of literacy. Then the next one, we'll talk about what that looks like for typically developing kids. Then the last part of that is what it looks like for our population, okay? So that's just a little quick intro. That's all there is to that intro of that. What's really why you're here are these strategies. That's what we want to know of what do I do with this kid? How am I going to do this? So when you want to look at these strategies, and there'll be something that hopefully will resonate with you. Oh, well, maybe I need to look at provide opportunities for handling and exploring reading and writing materials. So when you do that, you click in, and there's always the what to do and things to consider. So the what to do part of it is, and everything that's in blue, let me back up for just a second. Everything that's in blue is a link to something else, another website, an article, another whatever. Everything in green is like it gives you the vocabulary. What do we mean when we say lap games? What do we mean when we say trusting relationships? What do we mean when incidental learning? What is that? So that's just that real quick definition. Oh, okay, that's what they mean in this context. So everything in green is a pop-up that will just give you the definition. Everything in blue is a link, just like you would always know. Okay, so going back to this page, and this time I hit incorporate rhythm, music, finger plays, and mimic games. So what to do? So it's kind of a task analyzing. First you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, right? So it can kind of, it's that recipe of what to do. Then if that doesn't work, then under here are things to consider. So what is it? So in other words, the ownership is on you as the teacher. It is not the child's fault. It is our fault or our job to look for what is it that's not making it connect for this child. So maybe it's a matter of positioning. Maybe it's a matter of I'm not on his preferred hearing side of his, all of those little details that make the difference with these kids. So there are these little questions that if this part, the what to do part doesn't work, then the things to consider part, you might look at those as things that are possibly things that could have gone wrong. Then there's the always ask yourself, and always ask yourself, if I'm you, oh, wow, I don't know what happened there, but sorry about that. That link must be broken. But there's an always ask yourself, and it's also at the bottom of the module in the additional resources. But it is a whole list of all of these things to consider. And if you take that, print it out, put it up, post it in your classroom, and just look at it and think about those things. It's the always ask yourself things about, have I positioned this kid? Am I getting them at their day, at the time of day when they are learning, they're the most wide awake? Am I getting them, let's see, what's the first one? Am I giving them literacy opportunities every day? Not just hit and miss. Am I really every day taking up literacy and doing something with them? So it's just this list that if you put up there and you start thinking about those questions and you ask yourself, then you automatically will raise the bar for that student. You will automatically start doing more things towards literacy instruction for our population. Okay, so once you've done those strategies or looking at those strategies and thinking those through, there are these things down here. And these we call the lovely green bar items. And the first one is related skills. So a lot of times we think about those IEPs, we think about those skills. And what we've done with this is taken those related skills, those things that might be part of what you would do to get IEP development and planning going. And you might be on an IEP, be looking for joint attention, or you might be looking for anticipation or turn taking. Some of those things that you're looking for in that IEP and writing that IEP. And that's these things, these same things are the things that are associated with this stage of literacy development and can be written into the IEP that helps to kind of pull it together for you. Oh yeah, these are the skills I should be targeting in my IEP as I'm going through this. Then we also have examples, and these examples are, some of them are pictures, some of them are just different ideas of things to do. There are other links to other things. Then there are video clips that show different ideas of things to do. Then there's the articles, and the articles are your user-friendly 1-page articles, 2-page articles at the most. They're not your research articles at all. Remember, I taught for a long time. It's that down and dirty, I need to know this yesterday. What do I do? So that's what these articles are all about, those 2-pagers. So, oh, got it. That's what I need to do. And then moving on. So there's that piece. And then the additional resources are either other websites. Sometimes it's books that we say, wow, it would be really good if you had this book. This would help you. And here's where you can find it. Okay, so that kind of gives you just the nickel tour of this. Are there any questions? I'm going to stop sharing and go back. Everybody good? Nobody left me. Wow, yay. That's good. You didn't go running off.
I have a question.
Okay.
So this is about the foundations piece. Is there any plans in the future to have you teach any of the other pieces?
Not at this time, but who knows?
Okay.
You know, I no longer work at NCDB. I contract for myself. I'm a consultant, so I don't make modules like that anymore. I am making a module. Actually, I'm making several modules around communication matrix right now. But as far as the older and upper, what I would do is once you get your idea and your head wrapped around what we're talking about with this, then you can go to that website and there's so much information in there. You're going to just be like, I've had lots of people come and say, I could be lost in there for days. I mean, because we really did try to pack it with, I've got 15 minutes, folks. I need one stop shopping. And I need it yesterday.
It looks great. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, it's a labor of love. It really, this is, you're talking about my heart and soul here. When we're talking about communication and literacy, that's what I love to do. And I learned it by the seat of my pants. And so I'm, you know, my gift to you is from my experience, if that helps, you know, and not only mine, but a lot of other folks, because we really combed people and tried. So anything we can do to help.
Thank you.
I have a question.
It's okay. It's okay. You want to type it in the chat box?
We are sharing because one of our
Okay, now can you make your volume up a little bit?
can you hear me now?
We're almost there.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry, we're sharing and we have speakers. So when the modules that you're making for around the communication matrix, will we have access to that?
As soon as they're finished, yes, ma'am.
And
I
how would
As
we
soon
know?
as they're finished.
I have been asking her that every week for about a year.
And we have been working on it every week.
Okay, because our speech is, some of our speech therapists are going through that with our kiddos that we're getting, we got a grant and we've got communication devices that we're trying to assign to those kids. And they're using that communication matrix to get things started. But I think these modules would be helpful.
They will. They will very much be helpful because let me tell you who's doing these. It's me and there are two other teachers, okay? And there are 5 of us in all right? And 2 of them are speech paths. One was a professor at West Virginia University. She was like the head of the speech language department. And then another speech path who worked in a big district and did lots of stuff with AAC. And then 3 teachers, and all of us are in our 60s. So you're talking 35 years plus of each one of us bring to the table. And we've had a blast really learning from each other. Still at this age, we're learning that, you know, speech paths and teachers have 2 different languages and they come at things in a totally different way. So this is kind of melding that together. Isn't that pretty? We're really excited about that. So as soon as it gets ready, it will be out and it will be available to anyone. And it will probably be on it will probably be housed on a West Virginia website. But Lisa, I have sworn to Lisa, she will be like, as soon as I get that link, she gets it next. As soon as I get the final, here it is, then she's going to get it and she will get it out to all of you all. Okay, so we are working on that. And in the meantime, yeah, we'll talk about questions or whatever. All right. So any questions about the module or what's expected? Like I said, you're going to be working through stuff. I'm going to be providing you feedback. Anything you need in between, my email is in the chat pod, right? Maybe?
It is.
All right. So anything other than that, I think we're good to go. Unless you all have anything else for the good of the cause. Well, I'm excited that you're excited. That's awesome. This is going to be fun. And it really, I don't think it's going to take you lots and lots of hours. Okay. All right.
So tomorrow I will send an email to everyone with a reminder of how to get into the Moodle site and how to log in. I don't remember, there's a few other little details in that email, just so you have it. And then the only other thing we hadn't said is once you have completed the module and the assignment, we will send you a certificate of completion with contact hours. I probably will ask for an evaluation before I send it because I'm that way, but.
Which is what we all live for, right? Those contact hours. So, well, that's all right. I'm excited that you're going to spend your contact hours with me. How's that? And having had to do a certain amount of contact hours myself, I always think about that and always try to bring at least some laughter and whatever into it. Anyway, all right. Well, with that, unless you have any other questions, go home.